So advice to people on being caught in two worlds, because the reality of being here is that that may be the case for a decade for some people, maybe even more, and at some point they will cross over and they'll be hosting parties, and for some it may not happen. But on keeping your mind right and keeping your work ethic right.
Well, that's difficult. I mean, it's like training. I used to run, as a runner, and that discipline of that constant was really important, and I would run no matter if I was tired, and it's that same work ethic that you need as writing, because I see so many writers who say, and it's difficult, I understand. I tell some writers, that, I just did a 10-hour day, and they're like, 10 hours? I go, well, I have to, because I have an assignment, and it's due, and I have the luxury, that's my job, thank God, Now, when I had a day job only once in my life for 2 years, I worked at a law firm, I had to come home from a full day work. I was an assistant. And then at 6 o'clock, make dinner, and then write until midnight, and then go to bed, 7 a.m., go to that job. It was having 2 jobs at once. And then on the weekends, people would say, oh, come on, do this and that. And I said, well, I have to write. Write? What are you talking about? I said, well, and it was terribly exhausting. And I can see how it can chip away at you, especially if you have a family and a lot of different concerns pulling at you. That's why you have to really close the door and say, this is my time, and it cannot be interrupted. And it is hard to do, but you really have to stay disciplined. And also I think you have to have the fire and burning passion to really want it more than anything else, because I never put an expiration date on my dreams. And I remember people saying, well, it was at dinner one time, a friend of my brother's, and he said, well, what if you don't make it by 30? And I was like, 30? And I said, well, I don't know, what's 30? And then to him, he was projecting his fear upon me. And I go, this is open-ended. I'm sorry, but, and that's good and bad, because you don't want to fool yourself, like you're saying, where 10 years and you have nothing. I mean, I think at a certain point, if you've really exhausted all of your abilities and nothing's happened, you might consider something. Maybe writing's not for you. Maybe this pursuit of a career is not for you. And it's a choice. No one's forcing you to write screenplays. It's a dream. It was my dream since I was 11 years old. So am I going to achieve it? Am I going to achieve it at a level that I want? Because like when I worked in the restaurant while I was going to film school, I knew people are actors. They said, well, it's not worth it for me if I'm not like Brad Pitt. And I said, oh, really? So you think you're just going to fall into it and be A-list? Now, most working actors or the co-star character actors work all their lives. The leading person, leading man, leading woman, have to carry the film. And how many, so you look at it and it's like, and plus, as you get older, you look at it differently, and you say, well, I'm blessed to get up in the morning and do what I love for a living and get paid for it, and see it, see it end up somewhere, and people respond to it negatively or positively. That's it. Yes, continue to strive for more and other projects and different things, but it's hard. But the important thing too is to have people around you that support your endeavor. Because I've lost friendships and I've lost relationships with people who said, well, and they drew a line in the sand. And they said, and I was like, that's not a good thing to do. And what about the last X number of years I've been doing this? You're just going to have me throw that away? The lack of understanding about how much filmmaking and writing was such a part of my being almost, that other creative endeavors like drawing and things like that. But this is like who I am. And to have someone with you not understand that, it's really, and that's the hardest part, that so many elements, just like in making a film, so many elements have to go together and all click. Same way with forging a career. And as you've interviewed many different people, everybody will tell you a different story about how they quote unquote made it. And I was doing a seminar recently, and someone asked the question about making it. And I said, well, I don't know if you ever make it. I said, I think getting your next job is making it, and continuing to stay in the game is making it. There's nothing guaranteed. If you're on a TV show, the show's going to end. then you have to get up and we're like gypsies, find another job. I have a movie shooting right now in Los Angeles. When that ends, I mean, luckily I have a few things already going, set up, job-wise. You have to find your next job. It's just the case. But after, it's difficult. But, no one said it was going to be easy.
Before we wrap up on this topic, I just want to ask, going back to that day that you're working this shift at wherever it was, the top of Mulholland or wherever it was.
Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
okay. And you're let's suppose so you've broken down the event, you're driving down this mountain or wherever, maybe not a mountain. What's going through your mind? Your name's in Variety.
Well, I stopped at the newsstand before the job and picked up a pile of varieties, because you have to, and reread it. And, I wasn't on the cover. The company was on the cover, but I was on like page 13 with a paragraph of how they discovered me.
Right.
And so it's so nice to be discovered, and I'm here, pouring coffee for, these people. It was free because there was a fear that that was somehow it was a big fraud, and it was never going to happen, even though it was terrible. I mean, it was hard to really lock in, and then you get home and it's very depressing. You're like, there's no crowd cheering, there's no, you're like, wow. But then being pragmatic, saying, well, I have to pay bills, and there's no embarrassment about doing a job that you have to do, because that job allowed me to continue to stay in the game. Now, yes, the movie was optioned, but as movie options goes, they're not for a lot of money sometimes. And then the movie developed 18 months, it was in development with me. So you're talking about, and that script was 7 years after I wrote it. So it took 7 years from when I finished it to when it finally found the company and was made. Not all scripts happen that way, but I'm talking about a spec. And so this long process with a lot of fear that can be involved. But yeah, it was, but I always look back on these stories, not at the time maybe, and say, this will be a good story for the book someday. or to tell someone, how these things happen. There's a reason why I think we go through everything, is to either learn something, and if we do, maybe pay it forward and saying, hey, and that's kind of like my reasoning for the book, is to try to pay it forward and saying, I went through all these crazy knocks and these pitfalls, and you will too, maybe more, maybe less, but maybe if you zig and zag, and it'll help you a little easier, but it's all difficult for all of us because we also have to sit in front of the blank page, that's where we're equals as screenwriters,